Welcome. My name is Richie Adewusi. This is Nostalgia Media's Say a Prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. Justin Trudeau, the former Prime Minister of Canada, was not born in the 1800s. He wasn't Prime Minister in the 1800s in Canada. But there were certain issues, certain actions, certain incidents that impacted on the lives of First Nation children, families. The records have it that you're looking at about 150,000 of such children who were made to go to what was some kind of special school then, maybe to make them different from who they were or who they are. And in the course of time, there were issues around some 1,000 or so unmarked graves around those school environments. Justin Trudeau wasn't born, wasn't Prime Minister. But I watched a few years ago here as the government of Canada, through Justin Trudeau, apologized and set up what has become known as the National Day for Peace and Reconciliation, and said the 30th of September every year to mark a National Day for Reconciliation. This week, world leaders are meeting in New York, UN Security, UN, with the organization, world leaders. I watched as Nigeria's current vice president made a speech. Nigeria's current vice president wasn't born in 1966, neither January nor July. But Nigeria was at the UN talking about issues of, make no mistake, I've never been in support of bullying, whether as a child or an adult. And I don't run away from bullies. I don't like violence of any type, but I don't back down when issues of injustice happen. Either to individuals, it doesn't matter who, myself, anybody. What is happening in Palestine is not excusable by long shots, by anyone. Those children dying have done nothing. They don't know. But the vice president of Nigeria comes from the northeast part of Nigeria, who was actually the governor of Borno State, northeast Nigeria. There's so much atrocities that have been committed against the populace, children, women, everybody. And today he is a vice president. There's no peace, and there's none. Make no mistake about it. Insurgency is still rife in that region. But it's comfortable to talk about what's happening in Palestine. Yeah, by all means, play international politics. But please, they say charity begins home. In the same vein, the loss of one life is the loss of many lives. One life is what that's unique. Over 500,000 children died for things they knew nothing about. Some of the issues we're going to discuss here this morning. By some of those guys, see these guys behind me here. Some of them, not some of them, all of them. Between 1967 and 1970. More are still dying. And no one has thought it necessary to apologize, to look for ways to assuage. Instead, more salt is being rubbed into that injury in that region. But that's not our main focus today. It's part of it, but we're talking about the Federal Character Commission of Nigeria. What led to it? And we are talking about Emilokan. In the process of planning for this program, I received so many phone calls, so many text messages. Rich, what's your problem? Everybody thought that I think, oh, it's about somebody. No. That somebody didn't invent Emilokan, and I will prove it to you on this program. He didn't invent it. He only just spoke from what he's learned, seen happen for decades. What no one had thought necessary to put a stop to. He just borrowed from the playbook of this guy's behind me. And when I say he, I mean the current president of Nigeria. So he didn't, don't make any mistake by the guys. He didn't invent Emilokan. It's my tongue, no. All of the fellows you see behind me here, with the exception of this guy here, no, not my point. This one here, this one up here, with the exception of this guy and his friends. I'm not applauding they are killing people. I'm not. I won't ever. I just wished there was a way they could have gone ahead with bringing some sanity into the insanity of rascally elders. Who, instead of finding ways to bond, pitched their own tent out of ego, mostly really. If you really go down to read their histories and what all of this were, focusing on building empires, their own empires, focusing on creating their own dynasties. And some young Nigerians, remember, don't forget that, Nigerians, some young Nigerian military officers, Nigerian military officers, who knew about the code of the service they signed up for, took a decision by themselves to take action against the civilians, the leadership, their elders, their fathers. You guys are not behaving well. But I think it all went wrong. It all went wrong. The moment they started killing people, forget the issue of disappropriate or appropriate killing of different people, killing. No. That for me was where they got it wrong. They were not acting. I've read books. I've heard some of those who have survived from that period, from the military, speak. There are several videos on YouTube. I've not heard anyone say that any one of them had any personal ambition. I'm talking about those who conducted or who are behind the January 1966 coup in Nigeria. I've not read from any book or had any seen any documentary has alleged that they chose to take over governance for themselves by themselves. They wanted to govern. As a matter of fact, there's a guy who is not in this picture. Who this guy up here is on record. The video is on YouTube. It's on record saying that their plan was to release that guy and make him the Prime Minister of Nigeria. They didn't seek to take power for themselves. No. And the guy, they said then, 1966, that was the most sensible, most reasonable of all their fathers, all the elders that they had looked up to help lead that young country, was not from the same tribe that most of them come from. No, wasn't. But over time, Nigerians have been being lied to, being deceived. Well, for people to have gone ahead to say, oh, remove history from the school curriculum, there must be a reason. The lies are terrible. Oh, it was a coup perpetrated, organized by a particular group of people, a particular tribe. No. Young Nigerian officers. Don't forget that. And when you keep your finger on that too. Now, also remember what is going to happen some months later. And what the motive and then subsequent action from the latter group now became. I wasn't, well, I was born then, I was around, but then I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was going on, really. How much? 6 years? 7? Now, today we are going to the roots of what brought about the issue of the Federal Character Commission. Some people thought that will solve that problem of it's my tongue. It's us, we are dominant. Because they saw it play out. The 1966 coup, January 1966 coup was quelled by this guy. Oh, sorry, why's my hand going all over the place? This one, this first one here. Hmm? This one. General Adewusi, who also, I've been reading, also happens to be from the same region of Nigeria that this other guy, this one here, Nzogu, came from. There's been allegations, oh, that they planned it together. That, well, the historians could look at those, and then let's deal with what had been documented, what has been being reported by some of those who participated. As a matter of fact, as there's a video, you can go check it out. There's a video on the Oputa panel with, I think it was Colonel or Major Ben Boulier testifying. And the Oputa panel happened how many years after that war? And this individual was adamant. This was not about us, meaning them, those of them who were involved in that war. This was about sanitizing the country, the political class, and picking a member from that class who they considered the most sensible, one that could unite the country, that could move the country forward. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who had been who had been jailed for what was called treason. And what was a treasonous act? Opening the eyes of some parts of Nigeria, Nigerians generally, but a particular part, what is known today as the Middle Belt, what's known today as the North Central, as against some other individuals taking the whole northern part of Nigeria as a block, as if they were all one persons. No, they were not. They were doing their political. He went to campaign in those days. He convinced them, no, see, you can get some things better. And those ones decided to follow his party. That was his treason. That he dared go into a territory that was considered personal property of another political. Forget tribe, please. Please don't listen to me on this program with any tribal colorations. I don't have any interest in tribe. But there's no way we are not going to talk about individuals, what they did or what they did not do, where they come from. But by the end of this episode, maybe you will get to understand that the tribal thing is just contrived by these guys. Whether the ones in this uniform you're looking at or the other ones, deliberately those other ones are not here. We'll come to that. They jailed him, took his friend, his deputy, aligned with him. Do you know why this is important? Open your eyes to see what's going on in Nigeria right now. About the gang corps, about we'll break it down. And so that you see how similar that time and this time is. Crazy, actually, this time. This guy, Adewusi, foiled the coup by, sorry, this guy here, Nzogu, who is also an Igbo person. Remember, all of them grew up in the northern part of Nigeria. All of them are Nigerian soldiers, Nigerian military, all of them are Nigerians. And the politicians were doing their politicking. not minding how their actions and inactions impact on the general population. This guy said, no, you can't do this. We expect you to behave differently. But one of them, Aguirre, bottom, well, my left, bottom left, that picture there. Okay, yeah. Quelled the coup. The coup was, well, relatively successful in the north. Unfortunately, like I say again, they went to kill people. They didn't need to. You don't need to. If you're trying to solve problems, couldn't find ways to get people arrested and try them properly. Aguirre quelled the coup and did what the first set of people did not do or did not plan to do. He made himself supreme leader and went ahead to issue decrees that unified the federal civil service, meaning the regions were not, everything was going to be, well, makes sense depending on what the reasons are, what the motives are. But you see, this guy, what's my hand going? You see this one here, the one in this 20 naira note, eh? Did not focus on the Nigerian military officers who were responsible for the coup. Nigerian military officers. As time went on, of course, people have written books. You have heard those who were involved in that January 1966 coup, but who were not from where Nziogu was from. They were not Igbos. But so it was just like a regular military coup that different people were involved based on whatever their motives were. But it just happened that by the reason of education and all of that, you had more Igbo officers in that upper echelon of the Nigerian military at that time. So you can only talk about people. I didn't think that thing had anything to do with tribe, if you ask me. But in July of that same year, of course, like we said, Aderopo made himself military supreme, started this whole madness of Emilokan. Yes. The northern officers then, who were junior to this, the people who did the coup, the one who declared himself supreme leader, decided to, well, maybe with the exception of General Gowon then, all the other ones were junior to Nzogu and the rest. They were below the ranks of major that time, including General Babangida, including General Abacha, including Obasanjo. And decided to retaliate through tribal coloration into it. And masterminded, please, we keep talking about the Civil War, the Civil War. Who caused the Civil War? Who started it? What caused it? General Murtala Muhammad wasn't a general then, but as a general, masterminded a pogrom, a genocide. Wasn't forget the counter coup. And I'm not speaking in support of any tribe. We're talking about the people he targeted were Nigerian soldiers. There was no Biafra. Please get this right. The military formation in Abeokuta, where the killing of Southeastern soldiers started, Nigerian soldiers of Southeastern origin started, was in Abeokuta. Those guys had nothing to do with the coup. Well, I've not read. You are free. You can send me messages to say, okay, this one that they killed was part of it. If the officers were part of it, what about the men that went about? Say officers are men. In the military, they say officers are men. What about the men that went about slaughtering across the Southwest? There was no war. Please remember this. There was no war. These were Nigerian soldiers in Nigeria. This guy, down here on the 20 naira note, went about coordinating the slaughter of fellow Nigerian soldiers because they are just from a particular part of the country. Wrong. Wrong. From there, so many other crazy things happened. The same Murtala Muhammad spearheaded the issue of crossing the Niger, and in the process of his recklessness, again, it is on record that about 20,000 federal troops died in his attempts to cross the Niger, go and capture Onitsha, which he never did. It was disobedience. What do they call it in military terms? They failed. Well, sorry. By the time they killed Ironsi, it's still, this time is a group of northern soldiers, northern officers who coordinated the killing of their leaders. And then it became who is going to who. From the records available, Murtala wanted to, but then they were like, no, it's too hot-headed, this, no. They picked General Gowon, this guy in the middle here, this group picture here, the guy in the middle, to lead Nigeria. As at that time, he wasn't the most senior military officer in the Nigerian army after Agui Ironsi. He wasn't. The most senior military officer in Nigeria then was a Yoruba man, was a Yoruba officer. But he was, no, let's placate. Just get this. Let's just let peace reign. Before that, when Agui Ironsi quelled the coup, he surrounded himself with officers from the north. Around him, he said this, everybody around him were, he believed this is us. We have stopped these boys. He had to make a mistake. The coup plotters were not brought to trial. They were just arrested, detained some places. They were not brought to trial. The people who went killing other Southeastern officers and men did not kill them. Please. When they eventually made General Gowon the head of state, he himself took on the title of supreme leader. Get that. He too did not try the coup plot, as accountability had been an issue. It's still an issue. If you follow the history, I mean, this is a program of how long, so we can't take it all in details, but then we'll try. If you go through the history, Murtala Mohammed was never happy. The guy on the 20 naira note there was never happy about the one being supreme leader, one person. Then why would even the person who says I'm supreme leader, do we really understand the meaning of word supreme leader? Now, in a country as well, maybe in military terms, he needed that to be in charge or whatever. But then these guys, one way or the other, had been radicalized politically. So they are not thinking militarily. In all of these theatricals, the people in the southeast of Nigeria had nothing to do with any of this. None. You get to hear my Biafra story. It's a book. It's a whole book I've written 15 years ago. It was reissued, updated this year. We'll come to my Biafra story. But we started this live stream this way so that Nigerians get to have an understanding of how Nigeria got to where it is now. It's at some serious crossroad. Everybody be laughing. Oh, everything is going fine. Some friend called me and said, what's your problem? Everything is fine. Good. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Mm. Murtala Muhammad was never happy Gowon was in charge. I don't want to throw any tribal colorations in it. I don't want to throw any religious coloration in it, but all of those were present. They were there. They are there. If you want to be blind to, they are there. And of course, an opportunity presented himself. The plannings, the plans were thick. And this some other thing I also find out in my sniffing. But the guys, please, if you may help me, please uh, put up the pictures of the first Nigerian president and the prime minister and the premier of northern Nigeria. But first, no, yeah, put those three up first before we talk about the next person whose picture you are going to have to put up. Nigeria was running a parliamentary system. There was a president who was just really ceremonial. And there was a prime minister. The prime minister was from the north. There was a premier in the north. There was a premier in the southwest. There's a premier in the east. But these guys here who did the first January coup went, as keep saying again, and when you read the story, they say, oh, we really didn't decide to, we didn't take a decision to kill anybody. We have said, okay, act on the situation in front of us. What's that? That's nothing. Agree on what you're going to do. Make it clear. Don't kill nobody. These are old men. At least you can have a battle with their guards and all of that, but then make every effort to make sure that they're not killed. You didn't kill Gowon, really. We waited, you had the time. We'll come to all of that. So it's still hothead. The two northern, the premier of not the north, Sir Tafa Abubakar Tafa Balewa, South one of Sokoto, and the no, sorry, what am I saying? Tafa Balewa is not there, South one of Sokoto. Sorry. Both the premier of the north and the prime minister, for political reasons, listen, had nothing to do with tribe and all of that could had cards are still being played today for political reasons. They didn't want, for domination reasons, they didn't want Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He's not in that picture. He's in that picture, no, he's not. Thank you guys for putting the picture up and that frame up. Find a way, went around, used the law, put Chief Obaf, the premier, you know, for Obafemi Awolowo in prison for daring to venture into the law. And that coup happened because these soldiers were watching what they were doing. So what are these guys doing? We're talking about running a country, making life better for the ordinary citizen. You're busy trumping things up and then locking, jailing people and turning the whole, heating the temperature of the country. The Southwest was wild west then. What was known as wet air, pour petrol on people, bomb buildings, bomb people, kill people. This other guy, sorry, please, can you put up the picture? Yes, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was in the picture. Yes, I think I corrected myself over that. They jailed him. So this guy said, no, what you've done is wrong. We are going to release him. They didn't declare it publicly. But why I said put up that picture is all of them from available records knew about that coup. But for some strange reason, they didn't do nothing about it. Some of them called themselves. It was reported somebody traveled from the Southwest to go warn the Sardana. He didn't do anything, They knew, even in the military class, they knew that something was going to happen. But somehow they just didn't stop these guys, which tells me that this whole thing was larger than the people now who became the culprits for that coup, but they just were, well, the scapegoats, and they're called Igbos at the end of the day. But there was another Igbo chap that was also prominent then in the military, actually trained two of the guys who later became in Ghana. Chukwuemeka Odumegwu was in charge of an army formation in Kano, still in the north then. He also did not let the coup plotters, because of what he did, lock the armory, move the keys, whatever. He did not, the coup did not go the way he went in Kaduna and other places. So, when Aguiyi now quelled the coup and decided to appoint military officers as regional heads, he appointed, please, can you put up Ojukwo's picture, please? He appointed this guy, this one up here now that they are putting up, to be the governor of the Eastern region. I have not read anywhere in all of this time where it's reported or written by anybody that he ordered anybody, he directed, incited anyone to start killing people from other parts of Nigeria. Other Nigerians, let me just put it like other Nigerians. But Murtala Mohammed, this guy did. And he was there in the East as the regional person in charge of that region, the governor of the Eastern region, and was afraid of his life. They didn't want to, when he heard what is happening to other people, other officers in the north, in the southwest, and I also read that they agreed that military personnel should return to their, place, the origin, their tribal origin, if you like, their regions, sorry. Do you know all of this? Igbos are bad. Igbos are terrible. Igbos are. Do you know all of this? Do you? I didn't kill anyone. The people who planned the coup were soldiers. So why don't you face them? As a matter of fact, when eventually Nziogu died, it's on record. Jarago one ordered for him to be given a state burial. In Kaduna, he was buried with full military honors. His fellow coup plotters were not tried. But you went about slaughtering Nigerians that had nothing to do with anything. And Ojukwu is, why are we doing this? Let's find a way to solve this. Oh, come to Lagos. Oh, come. If he went to Lagos, they will kill him. There's no story. And he refused to go. And of course, who spearheaded, let's go and get him? Murtala Mohammed. And the other one, calm down, calm down. Eventually, they removed him from leading when the war eventually broke out. And by the way, it was the federal government of Nigeria that fired the first shot. Don't forget that. In what they call police action. First, they fired the first shot. These other guys were just defending themselves. I don't know what is wrong with self-defense. That is still being, looked at and talked about as a crime today, that people said, look, don't come and kill us. You can't just, the federal government is not helping them. And then we'll come to that. It's not on this program. We'll come to that, not this edition. And then he was not happy they removed him. One way or the other, that war went on. We'll come to the story of the war as specific episodes in this program. I'll tell my Biafra story. Because everything I'm saying here were not part of my Biafra story, because I just told that story, wrote that book for people to have an understanding of what it feels like to be caught up in a war environment, especially children. And like I'm saying, Nigeria has never, nobody, no government in Nigeria has ever bothered to apologize. Like Trudeau and the Canadian government apologized for what happened with children in the 1800s. 1970, 1967 to 70 is how many years ago? Over 500,000 children, not talking about women and men, died. Several thousands were ferried out of Nigeria. Children, by Red Cross, whichever, where those people are today, who are they today? Where they're lost. Nobody's talking about them. But we can talk about what's happening in Gaza. It's good to talk. I don't like what's happening. I don't like the death of children anywhere. I don't like the death of anyone, especially through violence, no. But your house is not in order. You are going to go and dictate to other people what they should be doing. As we speak today, especially in that northeastern region of Nigeria, where the current vice president of Nigeria was a governor, and in a country where he is the current vice president, Nigerians are living in refugee camps that they've called IDP camps, displaced from their homes. And you're talking about what's happening in some other place. Let's not get distracted. I brought that up because they're still in New York. Okay, that session is going to end on the 29th. Today is what, 26th, and in another 4 days, Canada will be marking another anniversary of that apology, Reconciliation Day, 30th of September. Nobody feels responsible for anything in Nigeria. Nobody thinks it makes sense to at least have kind words for people who have been so brutalized and are still being brutalized. I'll come to that. So the one I ascended, Gowon became head of state, made himself supreme leader, divided Nigeria into 12 states, appointed military governors. He was feeling pretty. It was okay. Well, let's get going. But the people who are still not happy about why it all ended, maybe they probably just wanted everybody in the eastern part of Nigeria just annihilated. We're not happy. We go on. Okay, he is making it all about himself. Get this. Nigeria is there now. Now. So get the genesis of this. And Gowon went for an OAU meeting in Uganda, 1975. They overthrew him. While he was away. This time, the gang up has expanded. Northern and southwestern officers ganged up. Middle belt packs ganged up. Overthrew Gowon. He was become too powerful. He's supreme leader. And a triumvirate. This is the beginning of your cabal. What you call cabal today, this is the beginning of the cabal. A triumvirate with Murtala Mohammed at the head, but they brought him there because this was somebody, but for all intents and purposes, who should have been disciplined, just like the coup plotters, for his role in the atrocities within the Nigerian army. Yes. Nobody held him accountable. He became larger than life. Feared by even the person that was head of state, Gowon. And they kept placating. Promoted him ahead of his seniors. Messed up the professionalism in the Nigerian army. Made juniors superior to their. Everything was messed up. It's my tongue. In all of those promotions, in all of those, everything that was happening was still. Remember, the Civil War has ended by 1975. It has ended, right? Everything that was still happening was still just all about the northern group and the southwestern group. They're looking at those pictures. It was much later that they started sprinkling, okay, you two should be there then. I'm not holding forth for any region. I'm holding forth for Nigeria. But there's no way, there's no painless way to cure cancer. It doesn't exist. It's not, there's none. They've not found anyone yet. Maybe tomorrow they'll find. Today, no. And then General Murtala Mohammed, General Lieutenant General Yakubu go and check their military rankings between 1966 to 1975 and find out if, you know, the, 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 the pattern and rate of promotion is normal. And then Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma. He's not in this picture because he didn't manage to become a head of state. All the people in this picture, well, of course, except for Nzogu, were heads of states of Nigeria at one point or the other. That's why they're here. That's why you have them there. The Emilokan is my tongue at one point or the other. And all of them, either directly or indirectly, that was their stance. It's me now. They overthrew Gowon. Now, they've introduced tribal, regional, religious dichotomy into the leadership issues in Nigeria. The military did. Gowon was from the North Central, who is not, if for the people they call minorities in Nigeria, I don't know what is minority about any human being. So that didn't sit well with. They removed him. And took over. The same crime, in quote, crime in quote, that Adewusi was said to have committed to try to unify the country, to be supreme leader. You will wonder why, when Murtala Mohammed had come in charge, why it wasn't like, okay, let the regions go back to regional structures. You wonder why. But they've not seen that, wow, it is better for somebody in the middle. The same thing they accused Adewusi for, or unifying the federal civil service to say, okay, let us be able to manage this country. And now, no, let's hold on to the center. You must be controlling everything from the center. They accuse him of that. From the historical records, Murtala Mohammed was not happy to share power with General Gowon and General Danjuma. He was not. But those ones insisted from historical records. And that tragedy, in terms of the human result of 1976, happened. That assassination, I'm saying in terms of the human outcome of it. Killing, I keep saying, it's not. If you could overthrow Gowon without killing him, why didn't you think about that? Who killed General Mohammed? Who killed General Mohammed? A man called Colonel Bukasuka Dimka. Who was Colonel Dimka? Colonel Dimka was General Gowon's brother-in-law. You guys don't forget these things. Dimka was from the Middle Belt. He was the brother-in-law of the one that they removed out of power. Whether they planned with General Gowon or not, watched documentaries, I've read places where General Gowon say he had nothing to do with their plan. He was not part of that unfortunate incident. Whether it's true or not, it's only between him and God. But the fact that it's a kind of some kind of revenge cannot be lost on anyone, should not be lost on anyone. But this is where we're going now. For a man who did all he did to Nigerian citizens, Nigerians, from the military to the civilians that pogrom, that genocide spread through in the north. Yeah, the assassination is unfortunate. His picture is on the 20 naira note. Shouldn't be. I'm sentimental about that. There's an airport in Lagos named Murtala Mohammed International Airport. His name should not be. This person created more problems for whatever is happening in Nigeria now than any other person. That counter coup of July 1967, if he had concentrated it on the military officers who waged that first coup, yes, they are military people, they deal with themselves. And then meaning any military officer, not targeting he who is the mastermind. There's no question about it. And then what you now reward him with is, oh, he's a hero in Nigeria. He's not. And that's why Nigeria lost it. Accountability. His military colleagues lost it for not holding him accountable for those killings, not holding him accountable for disobeying military rules in terms of even how to execute the Nigerian part of that war initially. Go and read the history. He didn't listen to them. He didn't follow their instruction. He did his own thing before they removed him, and he never forgave them for removing him. And they left him. And now he's a hero. No. That was how the Emilokan story started. Obasanjo, okay, handed over to the civilian government somehow. Became the country rule. But all of these other ones behind, these other four behind them, has seen what people can do with power, tested, seen. But they are still the ones guarding the civilians. Okay. One day they decided, okay, the same thing they accused these other guys for doing in 1966, they did in 1983. Well, they didn't kill, yeah. They removed, planned a coup. Put this guy in glasses, middle row, General Murtala Mohammed, in charge. Facilitated by this guy in the middle, General Babangida. I was 2 years later. I was in my youth service. I was in a place called Bodinga, Sokoto, northwest Nigeria, 1985. Well, parade ground, youth service, parade. And there's a coup. This guy in the middle had overthrown this guy that they helped put. Why? He wasn't listening to them. They were enriching themselves. Corruption has good. He took over. This one now, not putting anybody in charge, him, General Babangida, it's me, my turn. All of them who were part of that July 1966 coup took turns. The prominent ones took turns. The ones who felt shuffled out planned other coups, the one that you call coup d'etat, the counter coups, the Dimkas, the Okas, the all of those other coups that they now foiled. Of course, when a military coup succeeds, well, they've won jackpots. If you fail, they understood that. So these ones were involved in all of those coups, either for or against. Until Abacha. And then, just like, well, nature intervened in some case, whether it's apple or tea, God has been on the side of Nigerians, still on the side of Nigerians. That's the only thing keeping Nigeria one is God. It's not anything by any of them. In order to maybe give a semblance of breaking the yoke of one particular person, really, is when they begin to bring tribe and religion, is just to make it look normal. This was actually about them as individuals, their greed, their egos, so that somebody else will not come and do this, okay? They muted the Federal Character Commission. Well, there has to be things, people have to be appointed from different to give a semblance. Did they do it themselves? No. Go and check the records. Obasanjo came, and then it was written into the Constitution. It was because it became part of the Constitution. We must be try to be equitable in terms of appointment to, public offices. Nothing was done to concretize it beyond that, in terms of practicality, until Abacha came and then say, let's establish the Federal Character Commission. The Federal Character Commission is name that had become an excuse not to look at issues like merit anymore, putting mediocres in places where they shouldn't be. No sentiments, not about tribe or whatever. You don't, because somebody must come from one tribe. You go take somebody who cannot do what needs to be done and put in the place. Nigeria is in a mess. And then in 1998, General Abacha passed away unplanned. Just like General Murtala Mohammed. It wasn't planned. He too, people, I was watching a YouTube program, an interview with Chief Tola Adeni, who said, and it's there, I went to check, it's true, that he even wrote an article in the point to say, look, take care of your security. But they say, when things are going to happen, just like now, everybody's saying everything is okay, nothing's going to happen. Well, I pray. He didn't heed the advice of people around him to say, be mindful about, which also, he wanted to show that, look, I trust everybody. I don't, Adewusi did that, it cost him. He did that, it cost him. But General Abacha didn't attend anything, didn't go nowhere, was inside, but God is still on the throne. Yes, I said it. It's about Nigeria and Nigerians, that this program. It's not about any individual, it's not about any tribal religion. It's about Nigeria and Nigerians. And then General Abdulsalam Abubakar, not because he planned any coup, just like Obasanjo didn't plan any coup or assassination for Murtala. But General Abubakar didn't plan any. He too was in the list of those who are going to be in trouble. If what happened to Abacha didn't happen, yes. He became the head of state. And midwife what is now known today as a 1999 constitution, we the people. And the people didn't have any say in that document. Don't be deceived. There's nothing like we the people in it. Including what happens with the Federal Character Commission. It's a name. It's used now. Go and check. Instances will come and say, okay, well, we're not going to follow the principles. Why would you decide? What does it go? If something is documented, is institutionalized, what is the reason for which you will not follow it? Just like INEC computers and servers can break down during elections and nothing happens. Okay, so we've gone ahead on this longer than we should in terms of the backgrounds and all of that. I will play you the video that we produced for this episode. We'll come back. I'll tie it all up as about how it relates to the present issue of Emilokan now. People thought I'm coming on this program to come to talk about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No, I'm not his fan. I will have to tell you that here. Well, at least we all have our opinion. That's why they have political parties. Yes, a member of my party. I don't belong to any political party, won't belong to anyone. But I have my right, I have my opinions. Yes, just like everybody does. Okay, so I'm not his fan, but then when we come back, I will tie up what has been happening, the things I've narrated, what is happening now, and why people are behaving the way they are behaving now. So don't go away, please. Okay, watch the video, will return. Thank you.
Nostalgia Media's The Quest for One Nigeria series is designed to profile the deliberate steps taken after the Nigerian Civil War, the Biafra War, to heal a broken nation and engender the blending and unification of Nigeria and Nigerians, as one nation, one people. The Nigerian federal military government of the period following the Biafra War, led by General Yakubu Gowon, and subsequent military administrations introduced and expanded institutions, platforms, and processes designed to encourage and strengthen national unity. These initiatives include the National Youth Service Corps Program, the federal government colleges, the defunct Federal Schools of Arts and Science, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, the federal universities, the National Troop of Nigeria, the Federal Character Commission. The principle of the federal character was first introduced under General Murtala Muhammad's administration in 1975, it was later expanded and written into the 1979 Constitution under General Olusegun Obasanjo's military government, and finally institutionalized with the formal creation of the Federal Character Commission, FCC, in 1996, under the military administration of General Sani Abacha. The idea was clear. Public institutions, jobs, and appointments had to reflect the diversity of the federation, giving every region, every tribe, and every religion a rightful place in the structure of power. The FCC is supposed to be a safeguard against exclusion, but in practice, it has often been distorted. Instead of producing fairness, it has fueled a culture of entitlement, patronage, and mediocrity. Over the decades, Nigeria's leaders have turned governance in Nigeria into a process and platform for attaining selfish motives, massaging personal egos, in turns. From one administration to the next, the refrain has been the same: it is my turn, Emilokan, whether vocalized or not, actions, they say, speak louder than voice. From July 1966, the rotation of power has often been framed as a way to keep the peace between Nigeria's regions, but in reality it has become a bargaining chip among the elite, called a cabal, amongst the general population, who are yet to witness or benefit from the enormous resources that Nigeria and Nigerians are blessed with. For everyday Nigerians, not much has changed, in spite of Nigeria's enormous wealth in natural resources. Roads remain broken, schools are heavily underfunded, and hospitals are neglected. Instead of serving the people, each administrative cycle has been used to consolidate patronage, reward loyalists, enrich personal networks, and punish real and perceived non-supporters. The principle that is supposed to guarantee fairness has been hollowed out into a cycle of self-interest, where the loudest cry in Nigerian politics is not, "Let me serve," but, "It is my turn." Amid this drama, cultural voices have kept memories alive. In 1971, just a year after the Biafra War, a group of musicians from southeastern Nigeria emerged as a force in highlife music. They were the Oriental Brothers International Band. Led by Dr. Sir Warrior, Christogonus Ezebiro Obinna, 1947–1999, along with Ferdinand Dan Sach Emeka Apara and Godwin Kabaka Apara, 1946–2024, the Oriental Brothers created a musical brand that blended Igbo traditional rhythms with highlife, layered with lyrics that spoke of history, memory, and moral duty. They gave voice to the Igbo people's resilience after the war while also addressing the broader Nigerian audience about justice, integrity, equity, and unity. One of their most celebrated songs, Murtala Muhammad, was a tribute to the late military head of state of Nigeria, who ruled briefly from 1975 until his assassination in 1976. Through the song, the Oriental Brothers mourned his death but also drew the attention of Nigerians and humanity to issues in equity and divine judgment. While government policies through institutions like the Federal Character Commission promise balance through bureaucracy, the Oriental Brothers turned to music to demand something deeper, the need for leaders with vision, integrity, sense of justice and equity. Where the FCC became entangled in politics, real and contrived quotas, the music of the Oriental Brothers carried a moral clarity that still resonates. Their tribute to Murtala was not about whose turn it was to rule, but about what kind of leadership could move Nigeria forward. Today, the cry, "It is my turn," still dominates Nigeria's politics, but the question remains, whose turn is it really, the political class or the people? If leadership continues to mean only another opportunity for the elites to appropriate their slice of the national cake, then the dream of one Nigeria remains that, a dream. The Oriental Brothers remind us that culture records truth even when politics works to twist truth. Their voices still challenge Nigerians to demand better, a nation where federal character is not a tool for selfish ambition but a framework for fairness, justice, and unity. May Nigeria happen for all Nigerians and for friends of Nigeria.
Welcome back on YouTube, guys. Welcome back. Thank you so much for still being here with us. Now, the Federal Character Commission is there. You've seen from the video what it's supposed to do, what, is being done in practice. Ordinarily, from, we've talked about all the military guys, what they've done or what they didn't do. Some of them are there today. The only one, like I said, among them who didn't get to become the head of state is General T.Y. Danjuma. He's still alive, he's there. But if they were to tell the truth, South Africa went ahead, consider what they call the Truth and Reconciliation. We've talked about the one for Canada. Nigeria went ahead and considered the Oputa panel. That I'm not sure, I can't remember, I don't know. Anybody, please, maybe it happened when I was sleeping, for having the report of that panel published, made available to the public. We see the videos, the electronic documentation by way of videos that you can find bits and pieces of them on YouTube. Nothing has come out of that, just like nothing came out of the national conference or whatever it was that President Jonathan did. All are in the pursuit of trying to find ways for people, Nigerians, to coexist peacefully in an egalitarian society, that is ruled, controlled by equity, fairness, justice, rule of law. Ordinarily, the person that declared Emilokan 2 years ago or thereabouts, that made it look like he was saying something out of mass. He didn't. He only just quoted these ones behind me. He's saying what they've done over the years. He knows them. The people around him are brilliant, intelligent. They've studied, they've seen. He's not doing anything different from what these ones have done. They try to enshrine themselves, build dynasties for themselves, not for Nigeria, not for their tribes. Don't get that mixed up. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing exactly the same thing now. He's not building a Yoruba empire. No, he's building Bola Ahmed Tinubu empire. Yeah. They stop building. You see, you know, Nigerians are so peace-loving. They are so gullible. They just so want to get on with their life. But unfortunately, Nigerians are so dangerously forgetful. And I mean, when I say, I mean all Nigerians, not these guys. These guys are not forgetful nothing. And the ones there now, the ones, whether they're in military uniform or civilian clothes, they're the same. At least you have two of them who removed their military uniforms and wore civilian clothes. The third one tried, it didn't succeed. All to assert themselves, not there for the people. Don't mix that up. Because that's what they're using to confuse you. That's why they call you Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Muslim. There was a hoopla. You can't have a Muslim presidency. They went on, they succeeded. Thank God that happened. Nobody can accuse anybody now from presidency and say because you're a Christian, that's why this is. No, that excuse, thank God, is put to bed over development issues now. But what about the tribal? What is happening with the issue of the Federal Character Commission and its, if you like, dictated, if you like, its outlined role in the issue of appointing or selecting people to public offices in Nigeria? Is that what's, is anybody following it? No. Did that start with President Bola Ahmed? No. I'm not his fan, please. I repeat, I'm not making any, I'm not. I can't be. And you will get to know in another episode why. Ordinarily, what he's doing, he's supposed to make Nigeria better. But like I said, he's not doing it for the sake of Nigeria. He's doing it for himself and his clique. Don't make mistake about that. And why is that? Why is that? He's learned from what happened to this guy. Adewusi. Adewusi played Nigeria, let everybody come around me. They betrayed him. He's learned from what happened to this other guy here. What was it? What time I met? I said he's not hero. He's not. Yes. And I've told you why. You can go and argue with yourself. Go and read the history books. I don't see how somebody who supervised the killing of other Nigerian soldiers, officers and men, should not have been court-martialed. I don't see why he should not have been. The same thing with the people who planned the January 1966. Why were they never tried? There's too much blood crying over Nigeria. Nigeria has to do so much to apologize for so many things. Nigeria has to do what Canada did under Trudeau. Apologize for the death of children who had nothing to do with your egos, your greed, your thirst for power, control. Children who are still dying through numerous insurgent terrorist acts that you call banditry. They're not banditry, nothing. They're terrorist acts. And have you noticed that as the election cycles come around, these incidents increase? People displaced from certain spaces. The same spaces where some people accuse Chief Obafemi Awolowo from going to go and enlighten the people to say, look, you have a voice, you can talk, you can. Those same regions, those same environment are the places most targeted by these insurgencies, by these banditries. It has not stopped. So should I be clapping for the current president of Nigeria? No. Should anybody be clapping for? No. He has an opportunity. Okay, you see, rig election or didn't rig election, win election or didn't win election, he is there. I said in my last book, Promise Kept, my friend Majek Fashekana, that book had been sent to press before General Babangida launched his book. I think it was earlier on this year, in February, I think. And I recorded the manuscript of that book to comment on that incident. Like, my point was, President Tinubu said, oh, if without General Babangida, he wouldn't have been the politician he is, he wouldn't have been where he is. Babangida, okay, yes, you brought this people up. Through all of these things that I've narrated here, finally, they crystallize into that individual who is in Aso Rock now. Yes, you created him. All of you that behind me created the person in Aso Rock now. Just like the other people created General Babangida. He now in turn created all the others, one way or the other. Go and read the history books and well, follow the story. And I said, yes, if it's your student and you are his teacher, you did something. You did something. Not so much by choice. If he had his way, he wouldn't have stepped aside. He stepped aside and General Abacha took over, unfortunately. And we had one of the worst periods of disregard for any kind of human rights in Nigeria at that time. And God intervened. Yeah. However, God would always use men to intervene. So whatever happened, whatever happened, God intervened. There's a president in Nigeria now in Asuro. Some people have left, are leaving. First, that same president, listen, the thing that has created this problem of Emilokan and their coups and counter coups have been one person wanting to dominate the country, governance, power, okay? That is what the present administration is doing, turning Nigeria effectively into a one-party state. Forget that. This was what these guys fought about. That's what led to the different coups and counter coups that you had. The present civilian administration of Nigeria is doing the same thing that created those coups and counter coups that, well, ended in 1999, when 1998, 1999, that you have this President Republic, whatever title or nomenclature you put to it. So the gang ups that created the coups and counter coups during the military era is what has been happening within the civilian era, that people are decamping to join groups and all of that and all of that. It has the same devastating effects on the population as military coups. Make no mistake about it. And the civilians have always been the puppeteers of the military. Who did Nzogu them respond to their behavior? Civilian leaders. Who did General Babangida and Buhari respond to their misbehavior? Civilians. Go and check. Somewhere in that mix, there are civilians who would radicalize them, sensitize them to say, look, you guys, if you think that that's not happening in Nigeria now, you're not thinking clear. But the problem, the challenge is, we're talking about federal character. We're talking about making all Nigerians have a sense of belonging, feel Nigerian. You got to the place, be the president of all Nigerians. There's a madness that's going on in the Southwest now, especially starting from Lagos. They say that so madness is starting small before you enter market. You are renaming streets. You are tuning that. You don't. You can say, oh, I'm not the one. Am I the local government job? Am I the governor? But we all know differently. And what's the whole reason? 2027. What I said in that book, which made me to recall it from the prices, it's your right. It's the right of any Nigerian, qualified Nigerian, qualified or not qualified. You qualified Nigerians because, to present yourself, you want to rule, you want to govern, you want to serve. Nobody comes out to serve anyway. You had it in the video. It's not because it's in the video. Is it true? Was it a lie? Save the development, save lives, save the unity of Nigeria. Find a way to activate the spirit and the principles of that Federal Character Commission. The people who put it there might have said, okay, let it just be a cosmetic thing. You can be a hero. You can really be a hero in that country now. President Tinubu, I'm talking directly. You can really be a hero. The voices around you who are saying, don't listen to them, don't mind. The ones that are left, why did they leave? People still want to have puppeteers, but Tinubu is not puppet. It can't ever be. It's not possible. But think Nigeria, sir. I'm not your fan. No story. But think Nigeria. Think Nigeria. Be a hero. Unify that country. Unify that country. To the chagrin of the ones who have left. And let every Nigerian understand this. President Goodluck Jonathan during that election, I think 2013 it was, I think so. The one between General Buhari and the creation of the APC now and the PDP there, said one of I'm surprised that anybody he's even listening to anybody now in terms of who wants to come to contest, and he should just quietly play his statement, around the world, live his life. That his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. Unfortunately, the current president of Nigeria don't have that kind of thinking now. But I'm saying, please do so. Do so. Just like President Jonathan, President Tinubu has no military background. But they are the commanders, the commander-in-chief or commanders-in-chief of the Nigerian, commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces at different times. There's no commanders-in-chief. So what? Commander-in-chief of Nigerian Armed Forces at the times of their, administration. So necessarily, they have some kind of, but there's some other guys who are out there. They are the military guys, and the military, you've listened to how I took time. I have taken more time on this stream, on this podcast, to look at the actions and inactions of all these people behind me before we get to where you are. Don't play with it. They're still there. Am I a prophet of doom? I don't think so. You need to go and read the Biafra book. Look for it. It's available on Amazon. I don't know if they can allow you to order it and be delivered in Nigeria. I don't know. Before there was an issue, go to Amazon. By the time you're going to check out, they tell you, oh, there's a problem. I don't know if it's different now. Read the book. It's my eyewitness account as a child. Of 7 years old when that war started, and 11-year-old when it was said to have stopped. It hasn't. And more my point in that book was, please, 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 let's do things differently. We can, if we, the Nigerians, leaders. Nigerians on the street don't see any difference between themselves until you guys come to tell them they're different. I've proven that to you in the course of this program. That's where we started from, where we started. The National Youth Service, federal government colleges, the federal universities. I went through all of them, so I'm sharing my experience in all of them to come here. I'm now in an area that I don't have any control. I'm not in the military, I'm not a politician, but we can only appeal to you guys at this point. I can only talk about what I've experienced, what I've learned, what I've read, what I'm reading about your conduct, and say, please. That's a full cycle. The cycle is full, it's complete now. But please do something to help make people, all Nigerians feel like Nigerians. That will quench the fire. Look, this whole narrative that Igbos were not the first persons to say they want to secede from Nigeria. Incidentally, it was Sarduana and Abacha. Sorry, Abacha, not you. Murtala Mohammed, it's okay. One of the conditions is that the North must secede from the South. Murtala Mohammed, go and read the history books. It was part of the conditions. We cannot forget yesterday if we must be sensible today and if we must look forward to tomorrow. And we must look forward to tomorrow. We must be sensible today. We must look at yesterday and say, never again. Don't let us go this way again. My prayer is that we find the will the, determination, the grace, grace to turn down the rhetorics. You win elections, and then what? Win, rig, force yourself. When are Nigerians? This is a global issue, but then my interest is Nigeria at this time. The issue of might is right. It's a global challenge. But at that level, things can happen better. Nigeria will grow faster if we decide to involve everybody. Development would happen faster. What's going on in Nigeria is like somebody cutting his nose to spite his face. We'll come to all of that. So it's been a very, very wonderful journey today. I'm going to go now and look at some of the comments from committee members. I said, do you think Nigeria can ever produce a leader chosen on merit rather than tribe, religion, or rotation? That's what I'm talking about. We have to somehow, these things don't happen. It takes decisions, it takes negotiations, it takes people, what's civilization? Civilization is a measure of your ability to accommodate other individuals. Simple. Sure. If you're not accommodating, you're not civilized. That's nothing. If it's about you're not. There's nothing. Yeah. They said the strongest link in whatever, the weakest link. Even the weak amongst you, the ones you call illiterate, there are things they can do. You can help them. There's nobody, there's hardly anybody that can't learn how to do something. But that's not what's going on. Rotation really it's really not a problem if it is allowed to go. But when you are rotating on merit, not just that this is the region that is done. It's about the individuals that are coming forward. You cannot pick somebody and say, because it is the turn of this region now to whatever, and it's anybody. No. And I think that was part of the reasons for that 66 problem. They just want to promote people regardless of who they are, so that everybody can be on the same level. Everybody can never, look at our fingers, they can never be equal. Live with that. Improve people to be comfortable with who they are and do things to benefit themselves and others from their positions. Don't begin to say until you have there, that's only when you're a human being. No. The center in Nigeria is too powerful. Whether in the civilian sense or the military sense, there has to be a way to there has to be a way, and it's going back to that constitution. Yes, it's not we the people, it is them, the military. And make no mistake about it, it's not them the Fulani, it's not them the Yoruba, it's not them the Igbo. Nigeria's problem is not tribal. It's a gang up of all the people from all of those groups that you are thinking. It's a gang up. Please don't make mistake about it. Okay, so the rotation doesn't matter if it's like, okay, if that is what you say in the constitution, because Nigeria is not. But even the group that it is their turn should make sure that the person who is up front there can get the job done. That's the issue. It's not okay, leave us. This is the person where then when you kill, you carry. When the person gets there and misbehave, please be able to tell him he's misbehaving. Call him out. Don't say leave him, it's our turn, it's our child. Don't. There are many cases, many instances of that in Nigeria, Nigerian political history, socioeconomic history, socio-political history, really. Okay. If true equity and justice were applied in Nigeria, which region or group do you think should lose the most? And there will be no losers. There will be no loser. There will be winners. It will be win-win. There will be no losers. Why do we think it's until my brother is won in one office before something? No. If that person gets there and does what is right, everybody will benefit. Yes. There'll be no losers. Okay? There are such individuals in that Nigerian society. We need to find them. Nigerians need to find those people. Must find them. Unfortunately, you think that as the older generation, when I say older, how old am I myself now? Some time ago, I used to write and call them geriatrics. I wonder what I am becoming myself now. Yeah? Okay? That time you were young, you were saying this geriatric. Unfortunately, they are still the ones there. I'm not dropping my age here because I want, I'm just to say, look at how long this whole thing has been. And we're still meeting these people at my age, they are still the ones that are telling, no. And you know what they are doing? The civilians are doing what the military did to fast forward junior officers over and above their seniors. The civilians are now preparing their children to jump over. That's the whole issue of the building of the empire. It's not going to work. People are going to resist it one way or the other. So the sooner we think less of ourselves and think of Nigeria and Nigeria, the better. Okay. This one says, do you think Nigeria would have produced better leaders if FCC never existed? It's a doubt. Because what created the Federal Character Commission in the first place is the power tussle between this military leader. They've seen what was happening. They thought maybe if something like that happened, and unfortunately they will create it, they will not follow it. They created it, they didn't follow it. Obasanjo was accused of not being a Yoruba man because he didn't favor the Yorubas. He was accused of relating with the North. He was accused of even fathering some people in the Southeast. That's why he brought them into governance. When are you guys going to think straight? And then the people in leadership, when are you going to stop listening to side talks and do the right thing? Stop thinking about yourselves. Okay? The Federal Character Commission is just a mechanism to try to, get things a little bit, yeah. Just like the admission, if you like, principles and dictates of getting into federal government colleges, just like the idea of sending young Nigerians to regions that are not where they come from for youth service. All of those things were designed to make people think differently, see people as themselves, grow partnerships, sustain partnerships that are supposed to go into the larger society. Instead, people get to offices and tell the larger society, they are the ones, those problems start from there. People in the North didn't just start killing people from the South until the people in governance started and say, yes, go ahead. Yep. What if the most competent leader for Nigeria came from the same region 3 times in a row? What's important is performance, really. But in an environment like Nigeria, that's tough to defend. It's just going to be tough to defend. By the elites, not the people. The people would clap for anybody that's performing. You can be sure of that. The problem is not for the people. Whether the problem of the regions, whether the problem of creating a unitary country, whether the problem of dividing the state, today people are still agitating for more states. Who are those agitating for more states? It's not the ordinary people. It's the elites wanting control, wanting to be recognized, wanting to have their own domains, their own territories, their own dynasties, their own kingdoms. It's elites. They get shuffled out. They say, okay, why don't you guys divide this one? Okay, give me part of it. And it's the elites. State creation was not agitated by the man on the street, no. It's them, these guys behind me here. And the other ones in Agbada that you saw, they are the ones. Okay? If Nigeria needs rotation of power to survive, is it really one country? It is one country. Nigeria is made up of, just like, look, these things are not maybe that pronounced in some other places. It's the same thing everywhere, everywhere. But some people find ways. Nigeria has challenges that are available everywhere. But if people find, if you are running a federal system, follow the principles of federalism to a large extent. I live in a country that's a federal country. Canada is federal. And you can see it. They don't agree every time. They don't even agree at all anytime. But things get done by consensus. You don't unilaterally say, this is what I'm going to do in my region, no, or my province. No, you agree. There are certain certain laws that are provincial. Yeah, you're coming from anywhere, you're coming to a particular place, this is what obtainable here. You don't say, well, after all, I'm Canadian. This is what must happen here. Well, sorry, you're in this province. In this province, this is what rules here. And people live with that. You're going into a place, you know what obtains there. And the federal institutions know their roles in the union. They ran away from it. Parliamentary, yeah, they ran away from it in 1999, created the presidential system. We all see what's happening in America right now. It takes a determined person to go against everything. It also takes a determined person to get things right. We're praying that the present administration in Nigeria now will be that to think again instead of trying to build a dynasty. What could destroy Nigeria first? Corruption, tribalism, or the hypocrisy of its people? It's the nature of the populace. The feeling of, well, what can we do? You can do. I'm talking. My talking might not make sense to you. There are people it's making sense to. At least the people who are in those positions who know what they're doing and you're pointing out what they're doing, they don't feel comfortable. Yes. Now you that they're doing it to, that you're rumbling in your stomach. It's high time you start talking. It's high time you start saying no. Which do I have a gun? Do you see any gun in my hand? No, this is an iPad. It's talking to you. This is me here. No gun. It's do the right thing. People will support you. We just said it. If you have a performing Nigerian head of state, they won't care. The people on the street don't care where you come from. Like we said earlier, Nigerians are so tolerant. They're so forgiving. Serious, so forgiving, so tolerant. They just want to get on with their lives. But would you let them? All the contrived banditry, all the contrived terrorism, all the contrived looting, by who? If Nzogo and his colleagues, if they were to wake up today, they would die of heart attack. Because what they complain about that time is a joke. What has happened now, what's happening now? It's a joke. If they were to wake up and say, go visit Nigeria for one day, they would die the same day from heart attack. Somebody they were accusing the Minister of Finance for buying a Mercedes-Benz car, one car, one car. Today, people buy mansions all over the world. There's a controversy all over the internet over a minister, over things that are documented. And that individual still could come to the public sphere and boast funds. Lack of accountability. We'll come to that. We'll come to the issue of a working Nigeria. The quest for a working Nigeria is a series after this quest for one Nigeria. Okay? Nigeria can be great again. Yes. Yeah. Our leaders really need to learn from the past events that have brought us to where we are today as a country and look for a positive way forward. That's what I'm appealing for. That's what this program is about. Those who are writing me, calling me, getting angry, unfortunately, they're friends. And I've said, come to the program, come make your points here. Let's talk about it here. Yeah, I invite you. Come and fault me. Come and say, this is a lie. Nigeria will be great again. But it wouldn't be great on its own. It wouldn't get to be great on its own. No place, no country gets to be great on it. It comes from human action or inaction. Greatness or lack of it, human action, inaction. Of all the people behind me here now, of everybody behind me here now, of all of them, there are only 3 people are alive. Which of them carried anything anymore? Only General Babangida, General Gowon, and General Obasanjo are alive. When are we going to understand our humanity? When? Okay. Nigeria will move forward. And so, guys, wow, it's been a long, long stretch of engagement. I thank everyone who has been part of this live stream, this podcast today, and those who will see the video later. Please don't hold back. Lend your voice. Engage, comment, ask questions. Even outside of the stream, outside of the podcast, well, outside of the stream, we respond and we edit the video constantly when it's necessary to, put things that make more sense outside of more sense from the ones plus the ones that are outlined in the live stream. So if there are things you would like us to focus on or touch on today's issue of Federal Character Commission, feel free to. Our thing is all of these guys were pointed out here now, because one of the things people have said to me, Richie, look, what's your problem? Nigeria happened to you. I want Nigeria to happen to me. I say, maybe you have to go back to school to learn English. Nigeria happening to you is not a good thing. Nigeria happened for you and for everybody. Yeah, makes sense. All of these guys here made Nigeria happen to all Nigerians. Yes, their conduct resulted in Nigeria happening to Nigerians in one way or the other. In between, there are 1 or 2 things they would have done that, okay, nice, yeah. But then you're not doing Nigerians any favor. You are going into a position of leadership. You're not doing anybody a favor. You're going to serve. But do they serve? No, they don't serve. They go to massage their egos. That's been the problem. It's not where they come from. It's about their motives, individual motives, which they now turn into group actions and begin to drag groups into the mix to fortified their positions, individual positions, which led to coups and counter coups during the military era, which has been leading to party cross to one party or the other. No principles, no agenda, no vision. It's just me, 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 me. That is it. It's my turn. And if it's not their turn in this party, they cross. Those were the things that created the coup. So make no mistake about it. When you hear people crossing from one place, it's a coup that's going on. The difference is in the military, there will be guns, there will be bullets. In their own case, their actions are actually worse than bullets and guns as regarding the impact on the general population. Okay, so with that, guys, we come to the end of our show for today. I'm grateful for your being here. I think we should change that picture on that 20 naira note. Seriously, no jokes. There are very many landmarks in Nigeria that could. People who have done things that have not helped Nigeria should not be rewarded for the action, for the atrocities they've committed. No. It has continued. It won't stop until somebody steps up and say enough. So with that, we say, guys, say a prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. But on this program, our stand is always, may Nigeria happen for all Nigerians and friends of Nigeria. With that, I say bye-bye. See you in the next one. Bye.